Thank you so much for being here, gentlemen.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
So, Wiz has been a little bit of a rocket ship. Founded just 4 years ago, Wiz has raised nearly $2 billion. Investors include Andreessen Horowitz, Lightspeed, and of course, Thrive Capital. The ascension has been pretty meteoric. And now there's a little bit of an elephant in the room, isn't there?
A 23-ton elephant.
A 23-ton elephant. So I'm sitting on a plane yesterday, minding my own business, and the news comes through that Wiz is reportedly set to be acquired, possibly, by Alphabet for $23 billion, hence the 23-ton elephant. You know, what's going on? What can you tell us, Assaf?
So as you can imagine, I can share very little, if at all. I'll share a bit from my experience in a way. In my career, I got lucky. My first startup was acquired. I ran the cloud security business for a public company, and now I'm lucky to run a private company. I would say that in all of these events, I think that either IPO or acquisition, or even staying private like great companies like Databricks or Stripe, eventually it's all about the mission. It's every of these events that are very exciting to the media are a milestone in a long journey. Sometimes it's even the beginning of a journey. And I think that's the mindset that always like founders think about, that it's all about the mission, it's all about our talent and customers, and what's the best way, what's the best vehicle to provide it to the market. So that's kind of the mindset that we always have, being private, being public, and a startup.
That's a delicate dance you just did there, isn't it? What about you, Philip? How are you feeling about this? I mean, did you imagine that 4 years into the existence of this company, we would even be having this type of conversation?
Wiz is a company that I think has defied every expectation at every turn of the journey. So I try not to imagine, and I like to let Assaf and the team lead. I will say that the great security companies get built at these moments of paradigm shifts. You had Palo Alto with the internet and CrowdStrike with mobile and distributed work. And so Wiz is one of the rare companies where it's not just one paradigm shift they're on top of with the cloud. It's actually two with AI. And I think as a result, they are the center of attention for a lot of people. And as a result, I think there's a lot of scrutiny that comes to them.
Well, and let's take a couple steps back now about how we got here. What does Wiz do, and why does Wiz do it?
Okay, so basically we're helping every organization on the planet in a way to help them secure everything they run and build in their cloud. That's kind of the mission. And I think that what excites me about this mission, in a way, that it's not a technology problem. Actually, technology, and I'm building technology to be very fair, but that's not the main problem. And I think that cloud introduced us many challenges in a way, definitely in the security phase, like the way revolutionized the way we're doing IT. For example, from a centralized IT to decentralized, giving the keys to the kingdom in a way to every developer in the organization, which is great, but poses some risk. I think the complexity of the cloud, being a multi-cloud, different technologies, all of that, it's much, much more complex than we're used to. And the last thing is definitely the speed and the agility and the dynamic environment, the very ephemeral environment. So basically, the way we should do cloud security is going to be very different than the way we did security in the past as a whole. And that's kind of what excites us. Again, Wiz is providing technology as part of the bigger problem, but this is a huge mission that we're excited to be part of.
And why do you think Wiz has resonated? Because it's actually not easy to explain what Wiz does, because the cloud itself is already abstract, right? Why do you think it's resonated? Why do you think it's captured people's imaginations? What's behind that growth? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's a couple of things. So first of all, Wiz founded, as you mentioned, March 2020, COVID hit, and cloud security.
Did you think you were done for? March 2020.
Look, I left Microsoft on March 2020, and it felt like the most horrible decision ever. I was in the mothership. I loved Microsoft. I had a great job, great impact on security, and decided to leave, by the way, with the founders that I have. And then we're living perfect timing, March 2020, and then nobody picks the phone, nobody answers us. And it felt like, in the first couple of months, it felt like the worst timing ever to start a company. In hindsight, maybe Philip will agree with me that if you pinpoint a time in history, probably March 2020, that's the time to start a cloud security. But I would say that the advantage that we have, as I said, Wiz didn't start cloud security with Wiz. It's actually a decade before was that. I think that one of the advantages that we had is learning from the mistakes of the others, and that's kind of the ability to use the cloud native abilities actually to solve the cloud security problem, which sounds like now very easy to understand, but it wasn't the case when we started the company.
And Philip, you sort of talked about this a little bit, about there being a platform shift. What was your thesis around Wiz?
Yeah, look, Ali, I can tell you all the obvious reasons to invest in Wiz, right?
What are the obvious reasons?
Well,
Please tell us.
Fastest growing security company and enterprise software company of all time. The top 2 or 3 product that every chief security officer will buy at this point. And I'll embarrass Assaf a little, but I was at dinner with one of the C-suite executives at one of his foremost competitors, and they told me that Assaf gives them nightmares. So when you hear that, you're pretty interested.
What do they mean by nightmare? Hold on.
I think when you see a competitor like Assaf, you get out of the market usually. So not the type of person you want to be in a cage match with.
How do you feel about that, Assaf?
I wish it was the case. I have dozens, if not more than 100 competitors. So I wish, but yeah.
I won't embarrass anyone. But I think the real reason is the point Assaf made, which is that to us, the cloud is different in a really special way when it comes to security. And normally in security, the formula is you take a piece of the security stack. You take identity or email or network, and you build a faster horse, and if you're lucky, you build a $5 or $10 billion company. Pretty good outcome, right? But cloud is a sea change in how the entire technology stack is getting built. And so really every enterprise software workload, process, workflow is now built on the cloud. And so for us, the big deal was that Wiz is an opportunity not just to be a piece of the security stack, but actually to reimagine the entire security stack in a cloud-native way, end to end. And then you combine that with the fact that working with Assaf and Yinon and Ami and Ron is sort of a dream. You know, investors talk about second-time founders. These guys are functionally third-time founders between Adallam and then building the biggest security business in the world at Microsoft and now having even bigger ambitions. It was sort of a no-brainer for us.
You know, we've used that phrase a couple of times already, the fastest growing startup in the world. What does that actually mean? This is for both of you. What does it mean for you, Assaf?
Look, I would
Is that
say,
a label given to you?
I would say it's great to be fast and great to see the numbers. I think the important eventually is to be the best. We're not there yet. And the best place for talent, the best product for the customer. And this is a journey, and what we need to understand is, first of all, ever-changing journey and ever-changing challenge. But fast is great, we love that. But in a way, to be very honest here, it's also a bit about luck, like being in the right timing. When COVID hit, when I'm talking about why the timing was so great, when COVID hit, every business rushed to become a digital business and rushed into the cloud, created a security debt. Everybody needed a solution. Even if you think about it in the go-to-market, you talked about competition. As a startup during COVID, and I'm going 2 years ago, Palo Alto Networks, Microsoft, or CrowdStrike, they have the same real estate on the Zoom. They look the same as the tiny Wiz when we were very, very tiny. So even the advantages of the incumbents in a way during COVID were kind of taken from them, which allowed us. So I would say yes, there are many things that we're very proud of. I think on the fast, there is a lot of a luck, an environment, and an ecosystem that actually helped us that is less related to us.
So the COVID rush to the cloud basically sends you into hyperspeed. Were you ready for that?
No, so in a way I would love to say, hey, that's how we planned, we started the company and we planned.
You didn't plan that?
No, we did the most horrible deals with the cloud providers as, hey, we're starting a company, you need to assess how good you're going to do, and that's kind of the deals that you're doing, the procurement that you're doing with the cloud provider. We did horrible deals, just because we never predicted. I think now, and again, this is also a maturity of a company. You need to be predictable. It's fun not to be predictable and hey, everything happens, and it's not good for a company. You're putting lots of stress about the team. If your sales capacity is much lower than the demand in the market and what your ability to address, that puts a lot of pressure that most of the time is not a good pressure. So yes, it's great to be fast, but I would prefer to be predictable and knowing where we're going.
And Philip, how do you talk about the total addressable market for something like Wiz? How much growth is still on the table now and say in 6 months?
Totally. Look, I think when we invest over a period of decades, ideally, because we believe, like Assaf, in the long term of how these markets are going to play out. I think to the point of thinking about platforms, really what we think about is there are these moments in time where technology is not a smooth curve, but it is nonlinear. You get these step function changes. And for us, there was really a paradigm shift in technology, like we talked about, on the order of the internet or mobile that was happening with the cloud. And Wiz was the company to do that. Now, what makes that special is that the cloud is great. It's one of the biggest markets in the world. Every enterprise is built on top of it. Even they aren't completely penetrated. We think huge secular tailwinds to that market. But when we think about the other big technology revolution happening right now, which is AI, which may even be bigger than the cloud, the important thing to remember is that unlike the internet or mobile, where it was both a technology shift and a platform shift, you had to literally change the tech stack, AI is a cloud technology. It's a revolution being delivered by API. And therefore, for us, you have this wonderful stacking effect where we think cloud security alone is enough to build the biggest security business in the world. But I think once you layer on the AI opportunity as well, I think there's an opportunity to build the biggest enterprise software business in the world with Wiz.
This is as good a time as any. Thrive is also an investor in OpenAI.
We are.
How does OpenAI connect to Wiz? How does AI and cloud security all connect? Bring this all full circle for me here, Philip.
Well, I think there's the literal answer, which is that a lot of great AI providers are lucky enough to be secured by Wiz.
Like who?
I can't name names, but
Are you sure?
One can guess. But I think more importantly, the real answer here is that we are facing an entirely new threat surface area that every CISO, every CEO is asking themselves, as I incorporate AI into my tech stack, how am I going to create new vulnerabilities? And the company at the leading edge of this that is literally going through all the most famous model companies and open source companies and pointing out vulnerabilities and making sure that we stay safe is Wiz. And so for us, at the end of the day, this is a known unknown that is the center of conversation in all of the boards I'm a part of and Thrive sits on. And to us, OpenAI is going to succeed as Wiz succeeds, and Wiz is going to succeed as OpenAI succeeds for that reason.
Do you think their futures are tied together in some specific way?
It's the most important technology paradigm shift. And I think if you think about who are the winners of AI becoming ubiquitous, it is the companies that power the revolution with great models, and it's the companies that enable enterprise adoption of those models.
I had to try. On to the subject of acquisitions. Wiz has been incredibly acquisitive this year. Assaf, you've used the phrase the year of security consolidation.
Yeah.
What is going on in the cybersecurity M&A marketplace right now?
So not only when we look about consolidation, we thought 2024 going to be that. That's also the reason we raised $1 billion
in May. $12 billion valuation.
Yeah, a month and a half ago. Truly because we're looking about the opportunities that we're going to see. I think when we're looking specifically in cybersecurity about why the market is going to be more consolidated maybe than other, I think first and foremost, I think consolidation in the security market is truly a necessity. It's not only about vendor consolidation. Hey, I prefer working with only 3 vendors and that's kind of. In security, consolidating into one platform is actually providing better security for the organization. I think cloud is an example. It's not the only example, but it's a great example think about it that the organization have like, hey, how do I manage? I have one tool to manage vulnerabilities in my cloud, and then I have misconfiguration, I'm running another tool. And to understand network exposure, that goes other ways. But actually, when you're looking about risk, it's all combined. And in a way, if you don't have the right platform or the platform is not consolidated, it's truly you're getting less of a value. So I think that's kind of one of the major things that we're seeing in the market. We cannot ignore as well that if you ask any founder, definitely in the cybersecurity space, 2 years ago, hey, what's your dream? Mm-hmm. Going to IPO, ring the bell, I'm going to be unicorn, and then I'm going to become a public company. I think that the trends has changed in a way, and the maturity in a way of companies and founders, like that their dream a bit has changed, and they're seeing other options that also pushes the market into consolidation. And the last thing is, of course, in investors that are also looking and pushing that. So I think these 3 kind of streams in a way puts lots of pressure in the market for consolidation, and would love to seize on that opportunity.
Well, and we're going to continue our delicate dance here. You've used the phrase a lot, winner take all, to describe the level of competition in cybersecurity. But you're also saying now, you're like, well, there are actually a lot of ways to win here. What does it actually mean to be winner take all in this context at this point?
I think at all in tech, like the winner takes it all is a way. I think that in cybersecurity there is another element that is important. And if you think about it, cybersecurity is a lot about trust. Unlike, if my team has a preference if they prefer Office 365 or G Suite, or they have like a very knowledgeable way to think about it. And I can have my opinion, and the organization can choose. I think if you're looking in cybersecurity, you're looking much more as a trust, and this is where you're relying more on the community. And it's not only, hey, I'm just relying because others bought it and like a herd way, in a way. I think that what's truly important is the more customers you have, the more data, the more signal, the more attacks that you're seeing, and you definitely can leverage it in others. So it's not like only a perception.
Scale, essentially.
Exactly. It's kind of the network effect that is being created. And the last thing that is also important, and that's kind of where Wiz is truly greatly positioned. When the winner takes it all, we have the ability to work with Andreessen and Thrive and Sequoia and to raise billions of dollars. And truly, like, there are very few companies that are able to invest $2 billion into the specific solution, the specific problem that we're solving. Even the large one, even the Microsoft of the world, the Palo of the world, they're unable to invest as much as Wiz, the tiny Wiz, can invest. And I think that also takes it to the winner takes it all. So these are the motions that we're seeing.
And kind of to this end too, I was looking at the Fortune 500, and there actually aren't any pure play cybersecurity companies in the 500. We have one that makes it in at 513, so it's just over the other end.
They'll get there. Wait.
They'll get, you believe? Okay.
Definitely, I'm a big believer.
Okay, why?
I'm a big believer in the cybersecurity. It's as we said, it's a top of mind for everyone, and we're going through a revolution and platformization. And it's too fragmented. We're going to see the consolidation. I think this is a big opportunity for the platform players. Wiz is one of them, but we're definitely not the only one. And some of the large ones are great players, and they have great technology, and they're playing there. So I'm a big believer.
And for you, Philip, to what extent do you think a cybersecurity company can really go at it alone? What are your expectations when you invest in a company like Wiz?
Yeah, I think there are two dimensions to this answer, right? Which is, I'm with Assaf, that when you think about what are the secularly more important areas, well, we know that the velocity of attacks on companies and even US government institutions are rising. So it should make sense that the importance of security technologies are going up as well. I think some of the biggest security businesses are hiding in plain sight. Microsoft reportedly is doing $20 billion of revenue in security, so slap any type of multiple you want on that. That would make the Fortune 500. But to us, there's actually a second element here, which is that when you are a platform like Wiz, you end up being the system of record for some really important data. And for Wiz, it's the fact that they're the source of truth for all cloud assets, workloads, code, identities, runtimes, et cetera, which is really valuable for security. But it's also really valuable for other buyers in the enterprise. Wiz was really innovative in being able to bridge the divide between traditional security practitioners and executives and the people who are actually responsible for building things at companies, the engineering teams. And I think through time, we'll likely see a blurring between security platforms that are security qua security, and also security platforms like Wiz that are ultimately enabling faster innovation and engineering velocity in companies. And so it wouldn't surprise me if, in the same way Microsoft is a hybrid company working across enterprises in many ways, the same thing starts to be true of the security platforms.
I drafted this question, I promise, before Sunday. The goal in venture, of course, is an exit. And if you have a rock star company, the goal is a great exit. What does a great exit look like for Wiz? And I actually would like to let you start, Philip, because this is for both of you.
I think Assaf covered this one already, Ali, which is that I think at the end of the day, Wiz is a customer-centric company, and to us, we care a lot about the inputs to that and less about the outputs. We believe that if you put in the right inputs, which is invest a lot in R&D, be unbelievably aggressive about being the best possible vendor for your customers, and then seize the new technology paradigms when they come, the rest will compound over time. And maybe that's an exit that happens soon. Maybe that's an exit where we're partnered with Wiz for 10, 15 years. Assaf might get tired of me, but I won't get tired of him. But to us, that's the question. And I think every time we've made an investment, it's with the expectation that we're going to be long-term holders. And if we're surprised to the upside in the interim, no one's going to complain. But that's how we think we should partner with companies.
What about you, Assaf? What does success look like in this context?
Look,
this must be
they're
excruciating.
stuck with me. I think there's no exit. And we talked about like the IPO or acquisition, it's all milestone in the journey. As long as there is one customer that kind of believe in your product and believe in what you're delivering, I think that we're there to deliver. But I would say, like, if we're talking about the opportunities, and I think that's kind of what has changed in the market, the opportunity to stay private company for much longer is here. The opportunity, it's not only that the ability to raise hundreds of millions and billions of dollars and having great VCs like Thrive in the market to support the Stripe of the world and OpenAI of the world and Wiz of the world in a way, as private companies, this is great, but also the ability we can provide liquidity to early investors, to some of the employees. So there is no rush to go to the public market, and you can actually, go public when the markets are right, and when it's right, it's best and right for the company. And that's a big advantage that, like, a decade ago we didn't have as startups.
All right, one sentence, gentlemen. What does the future look like for Wiz? Philip?
Large.
I have no clue.
Should have ended on me.
I actually like where we landed. Thank you so much, gentlemen.
Thanks, Alex.
Thank you.